Am I coming back? I'm watching it like a hawk this time. All right. So the story is that we have an orchard next door to this one, and there is currently a whole heap of orchard workers who are having a lunch break next door, and they're all streaming videos and playing music and stuff like that. So that's why my internet connection is probably terrible. I've just reset everything and reconnected everything, so I don't know if it's going to work or not. Hopefully. So it might be a quick stream. Who knows? Oh, hi, Juju Bear. Yeah, well, it turns out I'm just on time anyway. I'm still early. I just had a really bad internet cutoff for my data's just sort of went bleh. So hopefully it'll work. Yeah, I got disconnected. Well, I disconnected myself preemptively because I want to have a good quality stream with you guys. Tech issues, yeah. It's that cheese. It's as soon as I held the cheese up to the screen, it's that damn puhoi cheese. It's cursed, I tell you. Cursed. But today, we are drinking mead and we're talking about gold and adventurers. Because Mr. Rex, if any of you missed the. Cheers. If any of you missed the live stream yesterday, we Mr. X and I and Jordan and Ted from Nerd Immersion got together on a stream for the D&D block party, which is still currently going on as far as I know. Which the block party is essentially inspired by Wizards of the Coast doing the D&D live event. Essentially just cut every community contributor, every community creator out of the loop, and we were not invited to be a part of D&D Live at all. So we set up our own indie live. That's what the block party was about, and it was technically much more proficient. It was, I think, arguably more entertaining. We know what we're doing because we're all professional streamers and stuff. Although I'm not, I just sort of tagged along and looked official. And yeah, you actually got to see Mr. X live on camera, which was huge, huge. Hats off to Mr. X for having the balls to appear on camera because he doesn't normally, and it's really really intimidating. Hey Jada, if that's you messaging me on Facebook Messenger, stop it. I hate the dings when I'm live streaming. Could be anybody, could be anyone. They should be in here live streaming with me. Right, questions. Right at Maria. Well, it seems to be okay now. I don't know. Maybe it was just overheating or something. Yeah, it's steady at 2687. Should be fine. Am I missing comments or is it just... I don't know. Might have lost a lot of people who went, nah, it's not working. Went about their business. Oh, maybe somebody's trying to send me messages about the chat. I don't know. Well, I'm here. Maybe the chat's not starting again? Could somebody type some stuff? I'm not picking up any chat. The last message I've got here is Adriana saying tech issues. Come on, YouTube. Maybe I need to... I'll try refreshing this page. That might destroy everything. Aha, there we go. Yeah, sorry, I just needed to refresh the page because YouTube and Google don't seem to work together. There we go. Sorry, technical issues on my part. Yeah, I got it. I got it. I got it. Okay, shush. Shh. Shh. There we go. Every now and then you have a stream that's just like this, right? Hey, though, thank you, Super Kikoni. I love the shelves flex under the weight of the tome's knowledge. Yeah, yeah, they seriously do. They are straining. They say they've got a weight limit of like 50 kilos, and I'm thinking there can't be 50 kilos of books there. Maybe there is. I've got a new little super chat guy. He's my mead drinking dwarf buddy. He's a little bit hard to make out, but that's him holding up a tankard of mead there. Playing Friday the 13th and watching AJ. Good Sunday, yeah. Right, Sunday. Sunday for you guys over there. It is a good day for a stream, right? I know. Oh, man. Do I think the indie block party will be annual? Yeah, I think it will because it was highly successful. They were raising money for the Trevor Foundation or fund or organisation, and they did really well. They were smashing through all their targets and everything, and everybody involved just had a really good time. It was really well organised in a very short period of time. So big hats off to the people behind the scenes. I literally just called in on a Zoom chat and they had me set up and ready and going in seconds. So it was just really smooth. This was what you expect from streamers and stuff. That we had our cameras and everything and mics and lighting and everything all set up. We had printouts of questions from our community. We were just ready to go. Yeah, I muted the phone. So yeah, I think it'll be an annual event. The pipeweed. That's a good question. Hobbits having pipeweed in Lord of the Rings. I think that's actually just a type of herb that they smoke, long bottom leaf. Yeah, if it was weed that they were smoking, you don't smoke the leaves of that. You'd smoke the buds. So I don't think it was weed. Could we get more detailed videos on each individual faith? I'm kind of like, as you would imagine, after doing that marathon effort of taking 4 days of solid work to write to put together the script for that video and then record it and edit and stuff. I'm kind of like a little bit over the faiths of the Forgotten Realms at the moment, but I'll probably circle back to it. What I would like to do next is get into elves and start doing some elven history. I hope that didn't sound demanding. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it, Kickass. Yep, we're back up and running now. I think everything's fine. Yeah, the cleric video. It's. I think a lot of people looked at the length of it because that was the feedback I got from one person on Facebook, and I thought, oh yeah, right. You see an hour and 48-minute long video, and you think it's a live stream, not a video on lore, because nobody does videos on lore that long. Well, I did, and I think unless people realise what it is, then they generally don't click on it. But I think word has spread that it's actually a video on cleric and all the different faiths of the Forgotten Realms from a human-centric point of view. So it started to pick up speed, but the first 8 hours of video was just I was watching the metrics and thinking, people are watching it for an average of 38 minutes, which is a huge amount of time by YouTube video standards, but it's got a much lower pickup from my usual subscribers and stuff. So yeah, to give you some idea of the metrics, about over half of the views that I get are not from subscribers. So my audience is actually in the hundreds of thousands, not in the 50 or 60 or 70,000. It's actually much higher, but a whole heap of people are not subscribed to my channel, but who regularly watch it, which It's okay, you know. So yeah, I'm kind of punching above my weight, but that's okay. Hopefully they'll come around and realize, oh, I've actually just watched 6 of this guy's videos. I guess I'll hit the subscribe button. But because they get recommended them to their feed so often, they don't bother subscribing. You watched it twice? Yeah, I imagine a lot of people will be going back to it. I mean, it was a huge effort, but it was kind of to distract me from the nerves of being in a live stream with Jordan and Mr. Rex, believe it or not. I kind of took on this huge project, so I didn't have to thinking about anything else for the entire week apart from clerics and stuff. And it certainly worked. I was pushing the red line of sleep deprivation and, yeah, sitting in my chair for 8 hours. Oh, people call them elves knife ears. That's so derogatory. Yeah, I think Hobbit pipeweed is probably more like sage, although it would be have to be a lot milder than sage. I mean, you don't want to smoke sage directly, surely. How do you play a coward without hindering your party too much? That's a really good question. I think probably just be more sort of self-interested and say I voluntarily save fail my fear check. You don't have to roll to save every time. You can just say no, I voluntarily fail and run. Yeah, I actually stopped the video, Ian, when my voice started to give out. I think it was about the hour, just over the hour or hour 20 mark or something like that, where my voice literally just sort of stopped, and I coughed and choked and spluttered. Yeah, it came right about 10 or 20 minutes in of just sort of pausing and waiting, and I recorded that in 2 bits. The first bit was after I finished the first 17 minutes talking about clerics, and that's when I started. So you'll hear a noticeable change in my cadence and tone when I started talking about the individual faiths. And then I start to sort of pick up speed as I was carrying along. Hey, thanks, Jam. Just curious if D&D had an analog aside from tobacco. Sage would work fine in a campaign about smuggling. It can literally just be longbottom leaf being an individual plant that's not sage, not tobacco, not marijuana. It's just its individual thing of Middle Earth. We know that we've had plants and stuff that have died out in the world. Cultivated varieties of plants have died out. So if you are from the point of view of Middle Earth being ancient Earth, maybe. But if it's a fantasy world, it could be anything, right? Hey, thanks, Kikas. Even I haven't watched it yet, but that's only because of the timing of the posters. Usually I watch them instantly, so it's a combo of length and timing. Yeah, that's it's a good video to if you're like on a train or a plane or driving in your car for a long distance or something like that, or somebody said driving between 2 Australian cities. It's a pretty good length, 1 hour, 48 minutes. So it's over the length of a feature-length movie, so you can sit there and literally watch the entire thing or listen to the entire thing while you're traveling in your car. But it's set up so that those timestamp links will take you directly to the faith that you're interested in, so you can just load the video and go directly to the time link to listen to that bit of the video that you want to hear, and then you can just switch it off and go somewhere else. It's a reference video, so think of it this way. There's ads and stuff interspersed in the video, but I don't expect everybody to watch the entire thing all the way through. Even I struggle to watch an entire video that long all the way through. What it is it's like you don't read a dictionary cover to cover. You just flip to the bit you're interested in, put it aside. Whenever you need to reference it again, you just pick it up and go back to it. So it's a video that I'm happy for people to archive, share, and use as a document, a video document that they can just go and use. That's why I made it. And I'd like to make more sort of stuff like that in the future and get the educational asset side of YouTube more prominent, because mine's an education channel. It's not like a gaming channel or anything like that. However, people have asked me if I'd like to stream me playing Baldur's Gate 3, and I would. I really would. Although I don't have a gaming setup computer, it's okay. And I'd like the opportunity to learn how to do that and do it on YouTube, not on Twitch. Gold smuggling campaign for... Oh, nice. Lady with a whip and deer horns, yeah. The Shadowkai have got a pretty good write-up in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, and in 5th edition they are elves. They've gone back to being elves, who are stuck in the Shadowfell. who basically they were elevating the Raven Queen to the point of demigod status, and she got taken out by the Nagpa. And her faithful followers kind of got dragged into this nightmare with her and have stayed true and loyal to her this entire time. So she's a very interesting, mysterious entity that's almost like a semi-demi-goddess, but she's a goddess, right? I would have liked to have included her in the Pantheons video as well, but she's still kind of like a minor goddess, and she's also quite like I don't know if she's worshipped by humans that much. You've decided that the Moonlit King is your favourite Fey Lord from the Creature Codex and Tome of Beasts. Yeah, it's not bad. Honestly, I keep meaning to get around to those books. It's been a while now. Whoa, thank you. Thanks, Kennick. The most expensive cheese is channeling power from the elemental plane of dairy while fermenting a block of gold bullion. Yeah, imagine that. This cow milks. I milked this cow and produced gold. Thanks, Craig. Hey AJ, what you do? Please keep going with it. And only one small question I have to ask is, what would you say to someone who doesn't want to switch to 5th edition from 3.5? Then they don't get to play in your game. I would say every single edition of D&D is still being played by people, and they're all just as valid as the day they were printed. 3.5 is a perfectly workable system. 5th edition is good at some things and bad at others. 3.5 is good at some things and bad at others. In 3.5, there's definitely an emphasis on getting magical items to get your character up to the point where they can fight bigger and stronger foes. You can fight bigger and stronger foes at first level in D&D 5th edition if you have enough allies with you and you are tactically proficient at dishing out hits and not getting any in return. But if you go toe-to-toe with creatures, even in high level play, a bigger group of kobolds, for instance, will take out a high level character. It's bounded accuracy. Things nobody gets better at getting a knife in the guts. That's one of the things that's kind of inaccurate about the older editions of the game, and why I would recommend people to look at 5th edition and really look at it and not just see it as a simplified version of an old system, but a fix for some of the core fundamental problems with the game that involve power creep and fixed paths and locking players into character choices and incrementally handing out the things that they really want their character to be. Yeah, I would just say give it a go. Jump into a game and actually form an informed opinion about it from your own perspective and experience. Go into it with an open mind and actually try it. Thank you, Adrinath. Toss a coin to your sage. So, what do adventurers do with coins? What do they do with their gold? So, a lot of the part of that video about the faiths and things was me illustrating that clerics and paladins and things work for an organization. They are backed up by a powerful organization, and they tithe a percentage, usually even the evil faiths tithe a percentage of what they earn back to the church to support the community, to support their needs, to back them up, to give extra training, to give them a base that they can go back to and recover. It gives them accommodation, it gives them fellowship, it gives them community, it gives them political power as well. Because if there's one thing that clerics and paladins and stuff have, it's wisdom, which is awareness of your environment and the greater world around you. Part of that is wisdom of what is going wrong in communities, what is wrong with existing power structures, politics and things like that. So they get together and see their unionizing into a church as a political force that can actually change things for the better or worse, or whatever their god in particular wants to be more present in the world. So it makes sense that they're going to form clergies. They're going to form powerful churches and organizations. Some of them not so much, like the priests of Oral, for instance, are almost out for themselves. There's only a very loose power structure there. And the Church of Cyric is more interested in tearing down existing power structures or ignoring that they exist at all. How would dwarves feel about cheeseburgers? I'd imagine they would see cheese as a condiment, kind of like a mustard or something like that. They would just melt cheese and spread it on there like mayonnaise. And they would really not see the point of bread. They would just eat meat patties with cheese sprayed all over them. And they would see the salad and stuff as a garnish that they'd throw off. They would just eat the meat. They'd probably also cook the patty to death. They like their meat well done. That's a good point. Number 4 is bad luck in some Asian countries. With 4th edition, they were right. Well, I mean, I played 4th edition and quite enjoyed it. You know. Yeah, more coins and I'll sing more. How's that? Toss a coin to your scholar, oh people of chat room. Garlic, yeah. They probably like their root vegetables, I would imagine, being dwarves, you know. That's a very good comparison, Jam to use. I used to like 3.5, but playing 5e feels like taking the weight off, like a ship taking full sail. Yeah, yeah, I'm with you there. Have there been any large scale invasions by liches and vampires with undead armies in the Forgotten Realms? Yeah, I mean, Thay, right, was a place almost taken over by undead. Like Zastam, for instance, the most powerful wizard of Thay was a lich. But Thay has pulled back from that. And also, you know, demons and stuff got involved as well. El Tab, the demon, for instance. Madriok, the Ebon Flame. That the name sounds familiar, but I haven't researched him. What church would be a good mafia entity running crime rings? I would say actually a blue dragon is perfect for that. As I've always said, blue dragons are like mafiosos. Um, well, there's Warkeen. Warkeen is the goddess of trade, but she's kind of good. Uh, there's Bashaba, who runs insurance scams and extortion and things like that, is probably the one I would, god of misfortune. So Bashaba would run scams and swindles and things like that. Yeah, Bashaba. Stanchgate, thank you. What race would like spicy food? I've always said tieflings, but people have given me shit about that. It's just like, no, they're immune to fire. It doesn't mean they like spicy food. That's a good point. But uh, we know that elves like pretty plain food, and hobbits like pretty wholesome food, mostly like cheese and bread and scones and stuff. Humans like spicy food. Also, we know that the goblinoid races and orcs and stuff live in harsh climates, but they don't often live in very hot climates. So I think personally hobgoblins would eat a lot of really spicy food, because spicy food helps to extend the preservation and life of meat when you don't have refrigerated devices and you're living in hot climates. That's why a lot of spicy food comes from very hot countries. So I think hobgoblins would probably eat a lot of really spicy food. Just my hot take. Thank you, Robert. AJ, if a party of high-level adventurers established a home base with an enemy, and an enemy breaks into that base, can the adventurers use their actions against them? If a party of high-level adventurers establish a home base and an enemy breaks into their base, can the adventurers use their lair actions? Oh, use their lair actions against them. So the adventurers have lair actions, are you saying? Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it's kind of encapsulated into the player party that they've got lair actions wherever they go because they're generally pretty formidable. But yeah, for sure. You could have it so that, yeah, fire and capsaicin are different. Yes, I know. You could have it so that the adventurers have to put in a certain amount of resources in order to set up their base so that it's got traps and things like that that they can set off. So a little bit of forethought and role playing would help. A little bit of innovation. I like that's in caps. It's like fire and capsaicin are different. Mm-hmm. One faction Blue Dragon, one faction Beholder, and one faction Church based. Yep. Yeah. That would make for a pretty spicy situation. Yeah, like we know humans like spicy food, right? So kobolds, yeah, I don't know. Kobolds can't breathe fire, so maybe they put fiery stuff into their food to make them feel like they're breathing fire. Like an homage. It's like the hottest chili they can possibly find. Thanks, amigo. Cleric and Faith video was such an inspiration I had to say thank you with a few coins. As an aside, an extra juicy lore on Lathander in regards to Vit. Yeah, like Lathander, somebody pointed out that the Church of Lathander was particularly problematic, right? Because it had that whole... It's a little bit close to the evangelical, TV preacher type side of things. And I can see where their point of view, right? But not all of the clergy of Lathander is like that. A lot of them are like fitness freaks and yoga gurus, and a lot of them are sort of swindlers and hucksters and stuff, and are interested in new venture capitalist ideas because there's that. But also a lot of them are like fertility clinic type people and things like that. So they foster new life as part of being a Church of Lathander. So family planning and things like that is part of Lathander's purview. So it's a very, very diverse church, much like Christianity is a very big and diverse church in our world. Lathanderites are very diverse in their world as well. So you can get sort of shady Lathanderites and also people who just tirelessly work for hope and new things. So they support people and they run their church as a business or like a bank, loaning people money and things to get their ideas off the ground. Bad dad pun, yeah. I'm of that age. Yeah, that Twitch stream with Mr. Rex and Ted and Jordan and I was fun. It was a little bit like scripted with the because we had this big list of like 30 odd questions from various communities that we're answering, but a lot of them were like kind of stock standard, like who are you, what do you do, what's your favorite edition, blah blah blah, kind of those sort of questions. We had a group of law researchers and they could have asked us some really, really like gnarly law questions and got us, like Mr. X sort of broke out of at the end there and laid down some really interesting law in regards to wyverns that neither Jordan and I knew anything about, and just was mind-blowingly like quite controversial, I thought, but awesome. So yeah, it was such a pleasure to be in a stream with Mr. X and finally see him and talk to him. I've talked with Jordan before, just sort of through chat and stuff, but that was also the first time that we actually sat and face-to-face talked to each other. Would a starving illithid eat a box of McNuggets? Only if the McNuggets were made out of brain meat, and then it would basically be the worst kind of cat food. They feed on living neurons, so they need living neurons to actually nourish them. It's not the same sort of diet. It's a very alien diet. So they're not just digesting brain meat. That's a little part of it, but they mostly sustain themselves through that psychic aspect of eating brains. So the quality of the brain is a vintage to them. Drain the psychic energy from the nuggets. Yeah. They'd be like clucking instead of burping. Oh, Westboro Lathanderans. Oof. That's vicious. I would say that's a little bit unfair saying a paladin of Lathandra is a basic bitch. Paladin. I mean, it's a common faith because it fits really well with like what what humans want to do, which is tame the world and hope for the betterment of humanity because they're coming out of quite a dismal time where an empire has fallen and they're beset by rampaging hordes of other species who are trying to kill them. So hope is something that the people of the Forgotten Realms definitely need a lot of. Would you like the extensive world of League of Legends to come to D&D? I yeah, I suppose so. I don't actually. I'm not familiar with League of Legends actually. I was just talking about that. Yeah, Mr. X is really cool. I'm glad I had the opportunity to. I put a link in the Twitch stream channel in the community tab on my channel here, so you can go back and watch it even after it's still hosted on Twitch. And I believe probably Ted or Miss Jordan will probably be rehosting it or something on their thing. I do have a Twitch channel, but I never use it because I'm one of those people that doesn't really agree with Twitch on an ethical level. What's my opinion? Pay-per-view SmackDown of Sages. Yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint everybody, but there's no beef between Jordan and Mr. X and I. Just none. What's your opinion on multi-class characters, especially for Fighter Monk multi-class? I generally don't multi-class that much. I like just the pure classes as they are. So when I play a cleric, I just play a cleric. And the subclasses is really where you get to kind of dip your toe into a multi-class type situation. Yeah. Like you can play with a combination of your background and your main class and your subclass, you can play a lot of different combinations of things. Like you can play a pirate cleric quite easily without having to cross class into anything. It can be a lot of fun, Barbarians are junk food. Yeah. That's right. No, I won't post the Twitch stream to my channel because it's not mine. How do all the races view gold? I imagine gold isn't as valuable to a dwarf compared to a furbolg. Yeah, dwarves definitely. They like gnomes, for instance, feel like their souls were encapsulated in gemstones, and when they look at a gemstone, they see the creative principle of their god in it. So they are absolutely enamored with gemstones. Dwarves see themselves as being made of the earth, being crafted by their god. So they feel like they were put together by their god, and they think that the absolute pinnacle perfection of crafting would be to make a living thing. And gold is a precious metal, so it's a precious resource. So they would see it as like it's got a divine spark to it. So to them, gold and silver are precious because they are manifestations of divinity in metal. So it's beautiful, lustrous. It doesn't age. It doesn't tarnish. So it's a perfect metal. I mean, it's got its uses and stuff, like they coat things so they don't corrode and stuff like that. So, they understand what gold is, but to them there's also that extra spiritual aspect to gold as well. Cerebral fungi are people too, yeah. Vegan mind flayers. Well, there's, those little brain critters. Could you imagine a vegan mind flayer that only eats ants and dryads and stuff like that? That would be hilarious. Mr. X, what they don't tell you about AJ Pickett. I see you making for Warhammer 40k references to the Lathandrites burning everything. What type of cleric do you think would be best suited to creating magical items from a mechanical perspective? Gondites, obviously. Gondites would be fantastic at that, as well as the Church of Mystra. So the Church of Mystra would be making magical items like wands and scepters and orbs and all that sort of stuff that they normally traditionally make. So they would preserve that knowledge and be researching. A lot of research would go into making new magical items, I think, because that's part of their faith, is making new magical spells and things. Gondites, though, for them, it's like the Church of the Omnissiah and Warhammer 40k. So that for them, Gond is innovation, it's mechanics, it's physics, it's that sort of thing, and the wonders of actual mechanical engineering that doesn't fail. It's perfectly predictable. Like, machines are not going to fail if Gond dies, or if they make a flying city, it's not going to fall out of the sky if somebody casts a spell and steals the power of a god. But they can make machines which are invested with divine power. So golems, to them, are holy machines because they've got divine power invested into a mechanical device. So a golem to them is perfect. Shield golems. They manufacture a lot of shield golems. You can still do a mock flame war, yeah. Do you have a Tarrasque in your world? What, in Forgotten Realms? Yeah, I suppose so. Madrigal, the Ebon Flame, was an enemy of Halaster Blackcoat. You mentioned him in your Masker video. Oh, right, okay. Yes, I did read... I didn't read a lot of Dungeon Magazine. There just weren't a lot around back in the 1990s, but I did read Dragon Magazine, for sure. I'd pick those up on the regular. The propane's not working at your house. We just call that natural gas in New Zealand. You create a species of intelligent zombies created by a spore demon. Nice. Got a desert-centered campaign in the works where water is a valuable currency. More valuable than gold, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, even if you don't use gold as currency, for example, gold would be the preferred metal that you would use underwater because it doesn't corrode. Silver still corrodes, and platinum's non-corrosive, but gold definitely would be the thing to use underwater, particularly in the sea. So it would make sense that merfolk and stuff would use thin bits of gold as a form of currency. Not necessarily carrying around a weight of coins where you have to basically crawl your way across the ocean floor because you can't swim because of the weight. Heard the game Destiny? Vaguely. Is that a video game? Is that the video game? I've heard of these video games. Cast anti-technology zone. Ladder stops working. What? I don't know, Spike. Why does Eric hate gnomes so much? I don't think he does, really. Surely. If all technology fails to operate in a 60-foot radius sphere. Mwahaha! My compass! It's drawing squares! Thanks to all. Natural gas is... Natural gas... Isn't propane natural gas? Or is it... yeah. Propane. Pfft. Natural gas and propane are different. I don't trust either one of them around a candle. Oh yeah, I think I have heard of Fables. That's going back a bit, isn't it? Popular sports on the Sword Coast. That is a good topic for a video. I don't know. Goldfish is the currency. Yeah, I don't know about Fables, Virgo. From Virgo Comics. I think I might have seen one or two. Is the Tarrasque protected against radiation? Everything is protected against radiation in Dungeons and Dragons. Radiation doesn't really exist. And not in official sources anyway. Sick work, dude. Love your vids. PS cool office. Oh, thanks. This is just my room. One room. Baldur's Gate 3 footage gameplay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that later on. Does mithril rust? Mithril is a form of silver. So it can corrode. It doesn't rust per se. What's with all the gnome hate? Don't hate gnomes. Popular vacation spots in the Sword Coast, anywhere where the monsters aren't. I think actually Candlekeep would be a lovely place to visit in the summer. That rugged coastline, those nice rolling hills, plenty of orchards, fruit trees just growing, apples. Lovely. Lots of beehives and quality mead at Candlekeep. Of course, you can't go past the sights and sounds of wonders of Waterdeep. And Arm is a great place for a good time because Arm has got very relaxed trade restrictions, so you can find pretty much anything you want in Arm. It's not as seedy as Calimshan. Calimshan is it's got a huge city, huge sprawling city. It's like LA but with tents. Arm is more sort of civilized and a bit more mercantile. It's a bit like the Spain in a way. A fine patina. Mystara is its own D&D. No, phase res isn't radiation. You'd know this if you weren't biased against knife ears as you are, Jada. Yes. Somewhere, hang on. I printed something out. Or did I? Oh, it's not in here. This is like my to-do list. Yes. Tojanilda. I've also got the Inquisitor Undead. So this week I'm looking at probably Silver Dragons and some form of undead. I'm not entirely sure which. If you have any suggestions which undead you would like to see next, don't forget I remastered the skeleton video for my first foray back into remastering the undead series. What do you think would be the logical move on from that one? What would you like to see next? You just made mithril aluminum in your group. Thanks to Wall. Aluminium used to be really, really expensive. It was very, very rare. Sickening radiance. Yeah, radiation. That works. Tojanida. That's not the big dragon turtle type thing with extra arms and legs, is it? Have you done a series on the forests of Faerun? No, not really. Thanks, Jeremy. What I'd like to do is go region by region and talk about Forgotten Realms in great detail. But I think what I should really do now is do a broad overview of the entire Forgotten Realms. Just go over the map and just talk for like 5 minutes on each an individual region, so that and then much like the Faiths video, and just go over the entirety of the continent of Faerun and tell people what all the different regions are. Zombies? Ghouls. Yeah, ghouls. Ghouls. Daggers of gnome slaying? Right. I guess kobolds would make something like that. Bone creatures. Well, that's a little bit close to the skeleton video. Zombies or ghouls, definitely. Ghouls, Ghast, or Revenant. Wraith, yeah. I was almost inclined to Wraith because that's like the basic incorporeal undead. So that would be like have a corporeal undead, incorporeal undead, corporeal undead, incorporeal undead. Mead is good. This this particular mead is my I think it's my batch number 3, and when I opened this bottle it was fizzy as hell. It actually sprayed all over my desk and I was like, no, but it smells amazing. So it's yeah. Elminster's still alive. Yep. Thanks, Kinnick. A religion. The world is a dragon's gold hoard. A dragon god's hoard. Oh. Yeah. I suppose so. That would be more like a dragon religion. Oh, right. Almost forgot to thank you for... got my pirate campaign guide from the Wereshark video and it was totally worth it. Fort the Cilia did not go well. Yeah. I'm glad you're enjoying that one. Yeah, it's a really good book. I don't recommend things lightly. You got a lot of cyberpunk ideas from the skeleton video. Nice. Oh, keep veering away from the topic. Okay, so people who are wondering what to do with your adventurers getting gold. Matt Colville's book on the Forgotten Realm. No, where is it? Here it is. Matt Colville's book on strongholds and followers. I highly recommend that for a resource for your characters spending their gold in the campaign world, and this is the system that makes sense of that. So your character is going to be stupendously wealthy compared to other people very quickly. There are people who are always willing to risk their life to kill somebody and take their stuff. And they realize that adventurers are very powerful. So they can do things like accuse them of crimes, bog them down in accusations and things like that. They can frame them for stuff. They can waylay them. They can sick monsters on them. They can sow false rumors and then set up ambushes with superior numbers. They can just deny them stuff. Like, for instance, they could lay an ancestral claim on a sword that the character is trying to buy from a secondhand like blacksmith magic item dealer. So it could be really, really difficult to get, not only because you have the money and you're willing to pay for it, but the magical item may actually have cultural claims, or the crown may have some dictate or decree on saying only nobles can own magical items with that kind of legacy. You know, you can do stuff like that. So it doesn't matter how much gold you've actually got to attain social status, proper noble social status to do so, and that can be enormously expensive because nobles block other people from becoming nobles, so you actually have to win them over, and usually how you do that is money. No, I don't drink kombucha. Marrowpunk. Banshee, yeah, I'd like to do a video on banshees as well. My first video on ghosts was quite popular, and I quite enjoyed doing that, so yeah. Yeah. Biologist, yeah, well, I studied biology at university. I'm not a biologist, though. I don't do it for a living anymore. Do I think Monster Hunter videos, Monster Hunter monsters would fit well into D&D? As Dungeons and Dragons currently exists, it has a lot of leeway for different types of monsters. But I think part of the appeal of the Monster Hunter monsters is the backstory and integration and ecology behind them, right? So you'd have to port over the entire thing. Could be a bit of a squeeze. Why do zombies shuffle and skeletons run? Because skeletons are lighter on their feet. Nine is a great movie. When you do an overview of the Forgotten Realms, will I mention Karatua or Maztica? Probably not for that video. I'd probably save Karatua for another time. Karatua is it's always been a bit of a problem for me because I, I the the text style, like just the style of the writing in the books and the layout and stuff, was actually kind of hard going for me to get into. Like I find those books difficult to read. The book on the Shining South, for instance, is like the pages and things like that are really quite difficult to read. Like the artistic style for those books, not to the writing and stuff is fine, but the way they made the pages all dark and stuff is not good. Hopefully, going forward, the layout of the book stays pretty much as it is now, and is not too cluttered and stuff. And people need to realize that books, like people approach writing in a different way these days. So those sometimes it can be as simple as the Karatua books are difficult to read. And also the Alkadim books are difficult to read. They're just big walls of text. And if you're reading day after day after day, it can be not enjoyable to read it. Sometimes the writer's voice is just muddled or overly dry or bland, or they're basing a lot of their writing on books that you haven't read. Or in the case of Karatua, they're oversimplifying and crunching very diverse and nuanced Asian cultures down into blank stereotypes that can be kind of like, if you're living in the Asia Pacific region, cringy as fuck to read about. Some dude in the 1980s writing about Asian culture who he has no experience of it whatsoever. So, yeah, I would greatly encourage people who are from countries with those strong ethical, ethnic ties and information and culture in their world to redo those books as third-party books and stuff, and actually bring us like a proper Alkadim and stuff. I'm fully in favour of that. I think it needs to be updated, really. So I'm unlikely to go traipsing into Karatua other than do sort of broad brushstrokes. This is what it is, and blah, blah, blah. And occasionally I'll delve into monsters and stuff who are coming from that region, but there is enough in Faerun to keep me busy for a very long time yet before I even start delving into those areas. But there's all sorts of places which I barely even talked about, like Thindle and Samarak and Halrua and the lake of the area around the Lake of Steam. Like there's whole big trade cities and stuff like that there, which I barely even talked about. It's true, one shopping spree can upheave an entire economy. It's true. Yeah. Like, you can imagine how fast they would attract sycophants and people who get involved in their business, or who, like, start speaking in their name and racking up bills that the adventurers are expected to pay just because they're seen associating with them in public. It's like, oh yeah, he'll take care of the bill. So, yeah. Popular drinks around the realms. There's a few specialist drinks, but generally speaking, a lot of people drink local ales, and not so much local. Like wine is more sort of traded around. Beer and ale and stuff is not transported great distances across the Forgotten Realms. It's more local. There are exceptions, of course. Thanks to Wall. Alloy aluminium with iron to make a type of steel several times stronger than normal steel at a fraction of the weight, reintroducing nickel into the mix, something a dwarf could figure out. Yeah, I mean, they might come up with all sorts of alloys and stuff that we've never even heard of, because they've got magic. No problem. Happy to answer questions. Seeing as silver has a lower melting point than bone, how do you feel about a set of silver-coloured skeletal undead being used by a necromancer or a cleric as an elite guard? I think that's a fantastic idea. Yeah, filigree silver undead. Hey, Scorch. Mm-hmm. Like the key to smelting aluminium was doing it with a low amount of oxygen. So they didn't want to use heat; they wanted to use induction. So they used electricity to do so. That's where the arc furnace comes in. New Zealand is particularly well suited for doing that because we've got lots of hydroelectric dams and things. We've got a plentiful supply of electricity in New Zealand. We've got geothermal and things like that. And so we built these great big smelters in the South Island called Camelco. And Australia has a large amount of bauxite, which is the base ore that aluminium is extracted from. So they would ship huge amounts of bauxite over to New Zealand, and we would smelt it down into aluminium for them. It's a cheese donkey can't pull that much gold. Yeah, that's true. The cheese donkey is actually a dwarven god transformed and is hauling gold cheese. Aurora's Whole Realms Guide, yep. Elminster's and Forgotten Realms has got fantastic information. Oh, there's a Candlekeep website thread that accumulates all food and drink of the realms. That's fantastic, Spike. There is such there is such fantastic information collected by scholars over the years on the Forgotten Realms. I'm just one in a line of many, and I'm standing above their on their shoulders for sure. I suppose the difference being is that I've actually got the privilege of doing it as a job, full time. So literally a scholar. Yeah, Forgotten Realms is just a bunch of microbreweries, yeah. They don't call them microbreweries, they just call them breweries. Yeah, for sure. Same thing with mead. Like, people would just make mead. Mead would transport very well, I think. So, yeah, because it's, honey's a natural preservative. So if you were taking alcohol to the islands of Lantern or Moonshay and things like that would be great because they've got limited resource land space for growing a lot of crops and things like that, and not that many bees and things. So it would actually be a bunch of thirsty people that would trade quite well for alcoholic beverages and food on those islands, and in return they would have a lot of value-added manufacturing. So Lantern is a manufacturing powerhouse that produces smoke powder and wondrous devices. Do they have... they've got hops in the Forgotten Realms. They've got pretty much all of the things that Earth has got, because if they don't have it, some enterprising soul will come over to Earth and grab it and take it back there. Case in point is the fox, which got introduced into Cormia. So foxes were not native to the Forgotten Realms. They've actually been taken over there. And that's just like a little side note in one of the bodies of lore. They had Amazon since the 1350s, DR. A silver skeleton immune to turn undead. Or a silver skeleton that's actually programmed to go and hunt vampires. It's like, go kill. Sending undead against other undead. Brandy, Forgotten Realms Brandy, yep. So yeah, I think to sum it up, adventurers, if you're having problems with your adventurers not being interested in gold, you're not giving them enough gold-related problems. That's really what it comes down to. You need to up your Between Adventures game. You need to make that just as engaging, like almost so much so that the adventures are resource gathering missions for the shit that they have to deal with back home. And the shit that they have to deal with back home involves people they know, their connections with the people who trained them, who they've trained with. They've got, they didn't just exist in a vacuum, these characters. And anytime you've got a player who is trying to make a character that is just detached from everything, and then they complain that, I've got nothing to spend my gold on. It's like, yeah, you engineered a character that specifically exited that whole aspect of the game from that character's life. So either you wise up and get involved in the fact that being immersed in this game is part and parcel with what the gold and stuff is all about, and it's actually your fault, or you allow me to get that character involved in the game. You actually talk to the NPCs, you get involved in these stories, the politics, the plots. You realize that your character has got ambitions beyond just getting rich and more powerful at killing things. Like, that's not a healthy way to be. This character's eventually going to get injured, die, be, resurrected, realize, I can't do this all the time. I'm going to have to retire soon. But what do I want to do with my life? I can't be an adventurer forever. Or if your character's like, I'm going to be a god one day. Well, you can't be a god unless you've got a significant amount of followers and things like that. And that also requires powerful amounts of gold. So, yeah. Do they have a honey badger? Who wouldn't have a honey badger, honestly? Yeah, Lantan disappeared during the island of Lantan got wiped out and the population of Lantan disappeared to a different dimension with like weird crystals and stuff, and then they came back again. So they may have been whisked away by Gond to a different dimension and then brought back. And as far as I know, they're not talking about it. Could a wizard like in one of the faiths there is one of the god of portals. I've forgotten his name. Where's that script gone? It's disappeared. I've got so many. Oh, this is the script that I actually spilt mead all over that script. Shondarkle. So Shondarkle is the god of, he's the helping hand, right? But he's also a god of portals. So that would be the perfect candidate for setting up a D&D Amazon. So they would closely guard the information to these portals, because obviously, if you're a ruler or something like that, especially given the example of how powerful Amaskar got just from controlling a portal network, because that gives you the ability to instantly transport troops great distances. That's how England got the island of Hong Kong, if you want to study some history, by basically being able to power along with steamboats and outmaneuver all of the forces of China. So they could attack and harass along the coast until the China just went, like, what do you want? And they said, Hong Kong. And they said, okay, we're only going to take it for 100 years. That was an interesting negotiation. Anyway, so being able to control a portal network is very drastically tactically powerful. So rulers and the powers that be are not going to want to have that in the control of anyone other than them. So the people who can control a portal for merchant purposes and things would want to be very circumspect about doing that. Kick-Ass Duke. The fox was introduced into my hometown area, which killed off all of the quail and small game birds in the area. Are there monster stories similar to the history? Oh, yeah, I'd imagine so. Like, if all of a sudden land sharks appeared in your area and ankhegs, it's going to get really difficult to be a farmer in that region. So, yeah, that would be drastic. Whoa, there's 174 people in here. Hi, everyone. How do you scare away bees? Boobies. Yeah, I've gotten... Yeah, I'm going to make that video for you, Moonring. Yeah. Sigil. Yeah, Sigil is basically D&D Amazon. So no rules for systems like... What do I tell you? There's your book for building towers and strongholds and keeps. Strongholds and followers. Matt Colville basically fixed it for you. Go out and... There's a reason why this was probably one of the most successful Kickstarter D&D books ever made. The game is now too short? Yeah, putting your players into debt, that's fun. Just give them continual fines, right? And they're like, that's okay, we can fight off any army. It's like, well, no, you can't actually, not in 5th edition. How do you keep your players broke? You've walked into town without taking your weapons off. You cast magic inside the city confines. 1,000 gold. 2,000 gold. 5,000 gold. Oh, you're really rich, are you? No problem paying that amount of money, cash, coin. Well, the king has upped the fine. It's like, that's not fair. Yeah, no, it's not. That's against the Constitution. What Constitution? Peasant. Lady Silverhair also had the portal domain. Yep, the Eldar and the Webway portals. Yep, for sure. Jeff Bezos bought the Lady of Pain. Is the Lady of Pain Jeff Bezos? Could be. Was it Bezos? Bezos? Bezos. Aurora's whole realm catalogue have got a portal network throughout the realms. That would be awesome. Why would a god make a demi-world? Why wouldn't they? It's like same reason why we make computer games. A computer game, particularly a VR computer game, is a demi-realm that we've produced for ourselves for entertainment purposes or experimentation or running simulations or as a prison or a storage place. You don't think Aurora's survived the spell plague? I think most things have actually survived the spell plague. It's like they hit the reset button and said, okay, 5th edition is just going to carry on. Like Azuth is back, for instance. Fantasy IRS. Crafting magic items is very expensive, yes, both in time and monetary things. Like, you need a lot of liquid mercury and gold and silver and gem dust and rare components from living creatures, both magical and mundane. You need specific times and places to do things. You need natural magical energies and geophysical locations and things like that. You need staff and time and catering and all that sort of stuff. Sometimes you have rituals that last for 12 hours. That is literally a grueling physical affair to stay awake for 12 hours concentrating on a ritual to just make a component for a magical item. Sometimes you have to go to another plane of existence to get material that is not of this earth to make a magical weapon or a wondrous item. So it can get really expensive to do that. And so the easiest way to translate that in game terms is just give it a monetary value and give it a realistic monetary value for how huge that investment of time and energy would be. Repent, the Matrix is nigh. It's pronounced Beelzebub. Beelzebub. Is that the Driss series on the shelf too? Yeah. I've still got to read like Homecoming and stuff like that. People have said, you haven't read the prequel books? And I was like, no, I haven't. They said, oh man, that's got some of the best writing in there. I was like, oh great, okay, because I really enjoyed those. Apart from one of them I didn't really enjoy that much, but all the rest of them are fantastic. So I'm looking forward to reading the prequels, and there's some other Driss novels coming out as well. I started reading Salvatore on the Cleric Quintet. So Cadley and Ivan Bouldershoulder and Pykel Bouldershoulder were my introduction to Salvatore. Thanks, Danchko, and thanks, Jeremy. One of my biggest problems as a DM is time and pacing. How do you go about fixing that? One of the best solutions I've seen so far for pacing in regards to an adventurer's career and just how long you can be an adventurer. Like, doesn't it seem weird to you that a character will go up several levels in a matter of weeks? Like, they'll go through a series of adventures which don't really last that long in time, but they'll come out of it like 8th level. And in the world around you, 8th level characters are like old greying dukes and arch wizards and things like that. So It's like, when did you become an 8th level arc wizard? The presumption is for everyone else it takes a long time for them to get there, but for the adventurers, they can get to 8th level in a matter of weeks because they've gone through this grueling process, of experience. But here's the thing. Level also implies a lot of social clout for these characters as well. Like, you can't be just a 6th level paladin who is a peasant, in the D&D world, is not known, not famous or anything like that. It's wrapped up in this presumption that a 8th level wizard is well known, as a personality, as somebody that people take note of, is somebody who will be specifically mentioned as living in this town or something like that. So why is there a different standard for player characters? There shouldn't be, and that's on us as well. So one of the things you can do is introduce a downtime minimum of like a week between your one session and the next. So it could be presumed that the characters go this distance into a dungeon and then they'll sort of stop and they'll leave and rest and recuperate and come back again, because they've had these grueling experiences where, like, I got a spear through my arm. It's like, yeah, but you got healed. But it's like, yeah, but I can still feel it, man. Like, that was brutally painful. And really made me fear for my life. I felt like I didn't want to get into a fight after that for several weeks. And I needed to, I healed and stitched it back together again, but the new flesh was like a baby's arm. It was so weak and unconditioned, and I was uncoordinated because I hadn't used those nerves before, So, you need to factor some things in, and sometimes it can be as simple as saying, look, there's just a minimum period of time between these different adventures. So it actually it's an entire season. Winter happened between this adventure and the next one, or it's now 2 years later, and this character's actually older. And what did we do in the meantime? Well, let's just go over how much money you earned from your estates and what happened with your business venture, and you make up some tables. You roll on what happened to the clergy this year. And I was like, well, actually, I got into a fight with a deacon or something, and I got stripped of my privileges, and I had to go and serve a mission here on this island over here, and take the faith to these people and restore blah blah blah. And all this stuff happens in between these adventures, and then they sort of come back into the town and meet each other again, and like, hey, let's go on another adventure. Oh yeah, that was so much fun, and we got so much money and stuff like that, and we, legends and stories about their exploits start to spread because they've actually got involved in the world in the meantime. So you can pace it by having this stuff happen off camera sort of thing, but your characters are actually aging and they get involved in relationships, and your next player character could be the son of your previous player character, something like that. Thanks to Wall. Answer to the Fermi paradox. Why do you keep calling it a paradox? Is it just because it's called a paradox? All of the old civilizations made demi-realms and left, and took those big starry spots that are now empty with them when they... Oh yeah, okay. Night Mask wasn't that good. Oh, okay, I don't think I've read Night Masks. Just got through the first 2 trilogies of Driss this year. Yeah, they're a good read. I like the Cleric Quintet was more of like almost like a the Hobbit as compared to the Lord of the Rings. I guess it was just more sort of friendly, playful. Artemis and True should come back as a Revenant. Yeah. That's right, yeah, the skeleton computer idea. No one is staying dead except Cadley and Fam, yeah. Well, Cadley, he lived, he was a good example of somebody who devoted himself totally to his faith. It was really a good story of transformation for Cadley and how he came to know Denier. So it was almost like Denier was a forgotten religion sort of thing. But the thing that attracted to Denier to Cadley was his inventive and expansive and investigative mind. Night Mask was the third story in the Cleric Quintet. Why was it called Night Masks? Because he had the undead. I might need to go back and reread that. To be fair, I don't even know the titles of half of these ones here. I just know that I've read them all. Gwent is still a vampire, yeah. What do you think are the most evil clerics? Merkel, god of murder. Yeah, they're bad. They're psychopaths. They just murder people. We started at level 0 and we imposed training times and costs. We've been at it a month and the first player has just made it to level 2. That's like the dark. That's like the extreme version of that one. The Dark Lord Manny Marco. Oh, just a group of assassins. Okay. Have I read the Dark Vision book? Streams of Silver, Legacy, Starless Night. It's not there. I don't think I've read that one yet either. Cara Dune. I loved it when Drist and those guys went to Cara Dune and actually met Cadley, and like the method of their boat getting their ship getting there in the first place, and like the sailors and stuff on board. Wouldn't you have been amazingly pissed off if you were one of the guys on that ship, where all of a sudden your beautiful ocean-going vessel, pirate hunter, famous, lady in every port, and all of a sudden you're transported by the stupid wizard to a lake thousands of miles away from the coast. Dude, that would... I'm surprised he didn't get murdered, honestly. Redecorated room, just new shelves. Solid plastic. Space age. Between the Plains of Dread and Shadowfell, I'd pick Ravenloft. Saw a really good PDF that was on Twitter that a Twitter user, Diane, posted. Thank you. Which was on a update and expansion and correction of the Vistani people as Romanis. So talking about Romani culture, their food and all that sort of stuff. Really good information that I didn't know. Yeah. Particularly like the cuisine and clothing styles and all that sort of stuff. It was really, really good read. That's the thing. Like, if I can be slightly controversial for a second, but not really. People who get overly defensive about sensitivity readers and things like that coming into the industry now and like bringing cultural sensitivity to stuff, it's not taking stuff away from the subject material. It's adding stuff to the material that makes it actually more inclusive and more educational, so that you've got a better understanding of what it's based on. Like, can you imagine the people out there whose only experience of Asian culture, say they live in the middle of Kansas or something like that, is playing Karatua, and that through playing Karatua they think they know a little bit about, Japan or something like that. Ouch. Cringe. Like, dude, you need sensitivity readers and stuff to go over that material and like save you from putting your foot so far in your mouth. So I think it's a good thing. Being as somebody who comes from a foreign country myself, like, how much do you really know about New Zealand? Really? What if you decided to write a source book that involved, the things that you know about New Zealand, or think you know? For instance, you don't even know that we don't call it a kiwi. We call it kiwi fruit. The kiwi is a bird. The kiwi fruit is a fruit. Every time you say, I'm going to cut up a kiwi and put it on the salad, we think you're cutting up a bird, because that's the way that we use the words. Little things. or the fact that we're not, we call ourselves Kiwis as a nation, as people, but that's in reference to the bird, not the fruit. Doesn't everyone come from a foreign country? Yeah, it's true. A lady in every port, yeah. Or a gentleman. Or a gentle lady. Or a lady man. Green. They're about to burst. Yeah. Grilled kiwi fruit? Ugh. No, kiwi fruit taste. I don't personally like kiwi fruit that much, even though we grow them down on the orchard down below. They're too acidic and for me, too much bother. Like they irritate my lips. We grow citrus and stuff like that, and cherimoya. We've just started growing cherimoya, which are called custard apples. And if you've never tried a cherimoya before, dude. Ugh, cannot even describe. It's like a better version of mango. It's absolutely fantastic. Anyway, we thought we were growing a persimmon tree, but it turns out it was a cherimoya, and it started fruiting immediately, and the fruit are like huge, and they're so delicious. And so I've got heaps and heaps of seeds, and I'm now propagating about 30 cherimoya seedlings outside. Anyway, we can't send beef to New Zealand. No. Kiwi tastes terrible. I think they're distantly related to the wrens, possibly, or the wren group. I don't think they're related to moa, but moa apparently tasted delicious. Kiwi do not. And the dodo also tasted horrible as well, fatty and icky. Much like you wouldn't eat a penguin. Just bad tasting. A better version of mangoes, I'm not kidding. Yep. New Zealand, we don't do deep dish pizza. We just do I would say medium pizzas, but like it's a pizza that you can pick up in your hand and eat. But it's not flat like a New York pizza. It's more sort of medium dish pizza. So the bread is like yay dense or so. We still have New York style pizzas in New Zealand, but we find the lack of topping variety kind of like boring. We like to pile up a bit of topping on our pizzas and have a hefty dose of cheese on there. So it's more like the bread is just strong enough to hold all the topping and stuff that we have on there. So that's the way we like our pizzas. If you want a good example of the New Zealand gourmet pizza, go online and go to www.hellpizza.co.nz and you'll find probably one of the best pizza chains that we have in New Zealand. Hell Pizza. They have Friday the 13th deals and stuff like that. Very quirky and fun. But they also do delicious pizzas. Not the penguins. Yeah, no, don't eat penguins. Grimhild worked for Pizza Hut. I've never actually tried a deep dish pizza. If I ever go over to the east states of America, I will try a deep dish pizza. I will go out of my way to try it, just so I've got some information behind the bias. It's obviously good if people eat them there all the time. AJ Appleseed, yeah, it's kind of like that. Like if you eat a good fruit and the seed is there, why would you not grow that fruit? It only takes like 3 to 5 years to grow a fruit tree. And from what I've heard, Hell Pizza in Brisbane is closed. Oh, is that because of the COVID? Yeah. You did work for Pizza Hut back in 1989. Wow. I've never had alligator taste. I've had dried gator. I'm not a fan. I think you need to cook it right. I've never had it cooked right. I'm not opposed to eating alligators because they'd eat us, right? I've seen Philly cheesesteak. It looks horrifying. You got to try a good Bluestone Steakhouse sous vide cooked $50 steak from Hamilton City. think about what you're saying, Moonring. The fruit of an ent? You're telling me I'm eating the babies of an ent in front of it? I don't think so. Can you imagine if an ent was like, hey man, eat some of my fruit? Isn't that your baby? I was like, what's that? It's an ent flower. Ooh, that's grim. Would ents be freaked out by people wearing like corsages of flowers? It's like, why are you wearing a flower's genitals? A plant's genitals? That's creepy. Hey, if Wizard of the Coast decided to implement Magic the Gathering magic mechanics into D&D, what would you like to see implemented? Mana? The different colours, different spells, etc. Are you giving me choices or are you just giving me inspiration? I don't think we should integrate that into D&D. I think it should be its own multiverse, its own system. I think that there should be cross-compatibility between the different things, but like a Planeswalker should be unique to the Magic the Gathering universe. And when it comes over to, if they ever do manage to travel over to the D&D multiverse with like Planescape and Spelljammer and that sort of stuff, they probably would run into significant problems. But you never know. New Haven white clam pizza for life. Yeah, I'd try it. Your clams are quite sweet over there as far as I know. It's not a lot of food, like aside from the foods that I can't eat, like egg, there's not a lot that I won't try. Anyway, it's time for me to go, everybody. It has been wonderful hanging out with you, and I will continue to drink some mead. Maybe ent seeds need to pass through a digestive tract. Yeah, but of what? Dryads? What do dryads eat? Yeah, the art is really good for Magic the Gathering. I use it all the time. If it's willing to eat you, then you can eat it. Yeah, that's a good rule. Isn't Mordenkainen? Yeah, technically Mordenkainen is a planeswalker, I suppose. They just don't have the spark to do it telepathically without casting a spell. They don't have it as an innate ability like planeswalkers do. That spark. Chicago style is a dough-lined casserole, not a pan or deep dish pizza. It's just more of a bread with toppings. New York is thin crust triangle cut. Tavern style is square cut thin. Oh, okay. Try my cheesecake. All right. Adios, everybody. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for all the super chats. Really helps out at the end of the month. Thanks to all the people who have been signing up to Patreon lately. And just a reminder to everybody that don't go overboard on the Patreon. Just like $1 a month is all that you need to unlock all of that content there. And if enough people do that, then that supports me perfectly fine. I don't stretch yourself, particularly now in the COVID-19 space. And if anybody needs to suspend their Patreon for any length of time because they're going through financial hardship and stuff, totally understand. I won't take it personally, Thanks, everyone.